So I want to talk a little bit about the books I've been reading. I feel like I haven't been talking much about what I've been reading because I've just been making stupid nonsense. I have been reading actual books. I'm not illiterate, as some people in the comments have been suggesting. Let's dive in, shall we? Oh, before I start, follow me on Twitter. The Friends of Eddie Coyle, which is an old crime novel. I believe it's from the 1970s and was turned into a movie with Robert Mitchum. I haven't seen the movie. I heard that this was an inspiration for my man, Mr. Elmore Leonard. He said he read The Friends of Eddie Coyle and it taught him how to write dialogue. And I was like, I want to learn how to write dialogue. Yeah, it's pretty much all dialogue. It kind of reads like a play. Sometimes hard to get into and figure out what's exactly going on. But once you do, once you get a sense of who these characters are, the story unfolds. All the characters are horrible. They're just like do crime and then are racist in Boston. I mean, it wasn't my favorite read. Interesting parts, and the most interesting part was just how it was written. There's not much action described. It's just conversations. Yeah, it was enjoyable. Oh, I finished The Wolves of the Calla. I have a review on my channel already. You can check that out to see what I thought of the 5th Dark Tower book. Moral of the story, it was good. The next book, this may have been my favorite read of this batch. No surprise, it wasn't Elmore Leonard. This is one of his earlier books, and it is a Western, 40 Lashes Less One. The only notoriety it has, I think, is that Quentin Tarantino purchased the film rights. Tarantino adapted Rum Punch into Jackie Brown. This book is fascinating. A prison in Yuma in the early 1900s explores the dynamics of racism, and there's a new prison warden who is very religious, who's trying to teach the troubled prisoners about God, basically. It's a real revenge story, just fun, interesting characters, a lot of drama. It just has a great ending, one of my favorite final lines in a book. Elmore Leonard can just get straight to the heart of a scene. There's some brutal scenes, but it's a fun, exciting book. It's like Tarantino, Django in prison, sort of. 40 Lashes Less One. I've been kind of into older noir. This book kind of popped up on my radar because I heard other crime writers talking about how it was really good. It's called Black Wings Has My Angel by Elliot Chase. It's very archetypal. You feel there's not a lot of elements in it that are very new, but the way it's written is really beautiful. The language is just clear, but also really lyrical in a way that doesn't distract from the narration, it's narrated by this, criminal who's a murderer, and I don't really know how to describe it. Basically about this ex-con who falls in love with an ex-prostitute. They come up with a plan for a crime to rob a bank. They have a very twisted, disturbing relationship with each other, kind of hateful love, really beautiful, dark, haunting. Yeah, this one's gonna stick with me for a while. It was very sad in some ways. So the last book I finished that I want to talk about is a science fiction book. This is one I've heard about mainly because it's sort of infamous. It has very graphic content, but it's like a space opera, so it's very unexpected in some ways. The whole story of the book is about the abuser and the victim and the rescuer. Operatic drama that unfolds, and what we expect to happen is unexpected, really disturbing. I can't recommend it to a lot of people, and you'll see if you go on Goodreads, a lot of people are like, wow, I could not read this book. How could anyone read this book? I think it's because in the genre of science fiction, especially space opera, you're not expecting something this incredibly dark mixed with action and adventure in space, I mean, at its heart, it's a character study of a really twisted, deranged, monstrous human. Anyways, the book is called The Real Story by Stephen R. Donaldson, who made his way to fame by writing the Thomas Covenant series. I don't know how many people are familiar with the Gap series, but I found the first book, The Real Story, to be different and fascinating. I thought the world, the ideas were really interesting. It was really grimdark in outer space, exploring characters who are massively, massively evil. Diving into this headspace that is really uncomfortable, very graphic. I was just totally engaged the entire time. I had to know what happened. The voice of the author was so strong and fascinating. The world was unique and bizarre, but there wasn't just pages and pages of world building. It's just a book unlike anything I've I've read in the science fiction genre. I really loved it, and I'm going to continue reading the series. I believe there's 5 books. It's not for everybody. Please read reviews before you go in. Look at content guidelines. Real quick, I DNF'd Swag. I read about half of it. That's an Elmore Leonard novel. I DNF'd it just because I'd been reading a lot of Elmore Leonard. I felt like I knew where it was going. I do want to finish it, but I just ran out of time on the library, with the library. Homage to Catalonia by George Orwell. I got this because I wanted to do to see if there was any research I could get out of this because for the book I'm writing. I found it interesting and a really enjoyable read and fascinating, but it didn't turn out to help my research very much, at least not the beginning of it. So I think I'll finish it one day though. Next up, Blue of Noon by Georges Bataille. I read The Story of the Eye by Georges Bataille recently, so I picked up Blue of Noon. Really interesting story about a dark, twisted romance. A little confusing, but I wanted to see where it went, but again, I just lost interest a little bit halfway through. The last DNF I have here is The Tunnel. It was definitely well written. For its time, it was revolutionary in its style and its frankness. Very self-conscious, very rambly. I didn't hate it, but I just found it annoying. I feel like I've read other stuff in this kind of narrative voice. Felt like I wanted to mention it. I don't know if anybody has read The Tunnel, if they suggest I should finish it or not, but that's kind of like a reading update. I don't really do a lot of these, but anyways, I have a lot of books I'm planning on reading soon. Good stuff coming up. A lot more fantasy. I'm gonna start some new series and see what happens. So thank you all for sticking with me and watching. I don't really know what else to say. Have a good one.